Hi everyone. I wanted to show you a few ways that you could get started with your project particularly if you're having a little trouble with it. So what I often do for artworks is I will photograph my guide drawing and bring it into a photo editing program like GIMP or Photoshop. In this case, it's Photoshop. And I will use the brush tool on different layers, just like you did for your little exercise last week, to color in different colors, play with them with the hue sliders, whatever I need to do to kind of figure out a very general sense of color that I want for my piece. So you can see here I have a guide drawing that I did the other day, and now I'm working in some basic colors just to get a sense of how they'll work together. I think the reason that I like this so much is it's very low stakes. If I put something down that I don't like, again, I can use the hue and saturation sliders to adjust it to something that I like better. And I can also just get a sense of how things will look without putting physical media on the paper. That's sometimes much better because you don't have to keep going over things on the piece of paper and potentially kind of wearing out your surface. So you can see if you look as I do this that I'm working with multiple layers of color. I also have reference images such as the one you just saw flash up that I will kind of go back and forth with to select colors. And I don't do a super careful job here, but just good enough that, again, I can get that sense of how are these colors going to work together? Do I like them? Do I want to adjust them before I go to my physical media? And as always, don't forget to save. Once I have some idea of what colors I want to use, whether that's done with digital media or I just think it through, I will start to block out my colors in pastel on my guide drawing or on my transferred guide drawing. This is very similar to what you did in class with your color still lives, with a couple of your sketchbook assignments, so this shouldn't be totally unfamiliar to you. Remember, with pastel, we typically work dark to light, so it's helpful to block in colors that are a little darker than what you think they might finally end up being in your finished artwork, or at least somewhere in the midpoint so you can push a little darker and a little lighter on either side. Because we have limited pastels, you can see what I did with the blue and green there. I don't have a turquoise pastel, but I can lay blue, green, and white one over the top of each other to kind of mix a custom color. As I work, I keep in mind that digital example I did, but I am not sticking to it without any thought. For example, I really like the idea of having this sort of purple face on the right and the orange hand, but I'm not 100% sold on as much orange as I had in my digital version. So I'm going to bring in some other colors, I think, to the side of the face and maybe the thumb area of the hand, the length of the wrist going down. This process of blocking in color has a number of benefits. So one of them is that just like with value blocking, you can use it to refine your shapes and forms. So here you see I'm adding shadow shapes to my original guide drawing, which did not have them indicated on there. So I am refining as I go. Drawing almost always is a process of going from general to specific. But in addition, it allows you to see how colors will react to one another, not just the overall color structure of the piece, but how do these colors influence one another. If you skip this step and you just start, say, carefully rendering a perfect face, then you could get that face completely done, go and lay some color in the background, and that color will react to the color in a face in a way that you weren't expecting, and you'll have to then go back in and rework something. That ends up taking a lot more time, and part of our goal here is to be efficient in our drawing. Now, you are not required to do the digital working out of color, and some of you may not be interested in it. You may have started already and not done that, but you should always block in because it really does set you up for success.